Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th stop on the Great Canadian Farm Tour. My name is Colleen, and I'm a teacher working for Agriculture in the Classroom Canada, and I've been having so much fun taking you along with me on these virtual farm tours to celebrate Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month. We've had a busy week this week. We've been in Manitoba, Alberta. Now we're in the last of the prairie provinces, Saskatchewan. So today we're going to be visiting a ranch where we will learn all about beef farming and get to see some cows. I would love to see where everyone is joining us from today, so please feel free to put this in the live chat. In the live chat throughout the tour, you can also type in any questions that you have for our farmer, and we'll do our best to ask them as many as we can. Don't forget also that all of our farm tours are being recorded and you can watch them on Agriculture in the Classroom Canada's YouTube page after the live stream. Okay, let's see where some of you are joining us from. We have a grade 4 class in Prince Albert, a grade 3-4 class, lots of classes joining from Saskatchewan. We see some in Manitoba as well. Welcome. Regina, and a homeschool class from Alberta. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us from all across Canada. We're so happy to have you here with us today. So Agriculture in the Classroom Canada is so excited and honored to be hosting this tour in partnership with Agriculture in the Classroom Saskatchewan. And I would love to introduce you to my co-host today from this team, Susan, Agriculture in the Classroom Saskatchewan's Program Manager. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Colleen. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us today. I'm so happy to be here and to welcome everybody into sunny Saskatchewan to visit our farm. So I'd like to acknowledge that the land that we're settled on is the traditional territory of the Cree, Dakota Sioux, Blackfoot, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We pay our respects to the ancestors of this place and reaffirm our relationships with one another.
Thank you, Susan. So there are many different types of farms in Saskatchewan, and today we're going to be visiting a farm that raises beef cattle. These types of farms are important because beef provides protein and many other nutrients to humans that help us to have a healthy diet.
I'm so excited to introduce you to today, our farmer today. It's Arnold. Welcome, Arnold. Hi, Arnold.
You can say hi.
Hi.
So Arnold is a rancher in Northwest Saskatchewan near Canwood, and he runs a cattle operation along with his son, Leonard. So Arnold says he's semi-retired, but he's actually very busy, either helping with farm chores or participating on the board with Saskatchewan Cattlemen with the Verified Beef Program, and he's also the chair of our board. Over the years, Arnold has hosted a lot of farm tours and has volunteered many times to visit classrooms for Canadian Agriculture Literacy Month. So now we're really excited for our friends all the way across the country to get to visit his farm too. Welcome, Arnold.
You can say hi or something.
Morning. Is it my time to?
Are you ready for us to talk, Susan?
Yes. So Arnold, where are you joining us from today? Where is your ranch?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the LB Ranch in Shelbrook, Saskatchewan. It's a beautiful, sunshiny day and a great day for a farm tour. So let's get started whenever you're ready.
Yeah, we can hear the cows in the background, Arnold. We're so excited to see them. Before we get started, we're just going to give our participants a little bit of a reminder of the components that go along with the Great Canadian Farm Tour. So we hope that you have your Great Canadian Farm Tour activity book and your passport in front of you. Make sure you keep an eye out for today's mystery word so that you can write it in your passport. It'll appear at the top left corner of the screen. Also, we've received some amazing entries to the Great Canadian Farm Tour contest. We love seeing you enjoying the farm tours as much as us. So keep those entries coming in, and teachers, all you have to do is upload a photo of your class participating in the Great Canadian Farm Tour. And just make sure you use the hashtag GCFT22 contest. Okay, time to start the tour. So Arnold, can you tell us where you are right now on your farm and tell us a little bit about this area?
Yes, we're standing in what we call ourselves, we call it the keep and care corral or the hospital corral. When we have an animal that's off, they get brought over here. They're close to the house. They They have attention every 3-4 hours, so we can monitor them. Right now, we don't have anybody that has a health issue, so we're using this as a mother up pen for the cow calves, the new baby calves. And if you notice, if Emma shows you takes the pictures, we have some yellow tags and we have some blue tag calves. The yellow tags are female calves. The blue tags are our male tags.
Okay. So how old are these calves?
These calves are about a week old.
Wow.
So I think Emma wants to get close and see if she can be friends with this little guy.
So cute. And can you tell us a bit
Yeah,
about
we'll
the
walk this
cows
way
that
here.
are beside them in the other pen?
These cows, do you want to mention what they are? The noisy ones.
These noisy cows are the moms for these babies. And we took the moms out of here because I didn't want them to give Emma a rough time as we're walking through. So they're really unhappy that they're not in with their babies, which is, normal, I guess. Anybody would be unhappy if you can't be with your baby. So that's what all the noise is about. And they're interrupting our tour with their noise.
That's okay.
We're going to keep moving because it's hard to hear you guys with them mooing at us. So here's a last glance at the babies.
Sounds good.
They are sweet.
Yeah, they're pretty cute.
So Susan, as they're walking, can we talk about beef farmers or beef ranchers? And so in
Yeah.
Ontario, where I am, we would call someone who raises beef, we would call them a beef farmer. But what do you call them?
In Western Canada, it's more common to use the word ranch, or a rancher is the farmer that works there. So I would know what you're talking about if you said beef farm, but we usually call it a ranch in Western Canada.
Yeah, it's so interesting how it differs all across the country. Okay, looks like we're moving to a different section here.
They can see us, and so when...
Oh, it looks like we might have lost their feed for a quick second. While we're waiting for them to come back, oh, here we go.
So where Emma and I are at right now, this is the cows that are going to calf. They're eating silage, a mix that my son has prepared and unloaded for them into these silage bunks. And if Emma turns the camera to behind her, that is the calving corral. It's all protected with wind boards to keep the wind away from them. I'm guessing there's a cow in there with a new baby, and Leonard's locked her out, and she'll be taken over to where we started our tour once we have a minute. And I want to walk over here to the watering bowl. I want to show the students how we use thermal heat to keep this watering bowl thawed out for most of the winter. And so we'll just walk over here, Emma, and I'll explain to the students and the teachers.
Okay, so just like humans, cows need water to drink too. So we're going to see where they drink their water from.
So what we have here is an old rubber tire from an industrial machine. It holds 500 gallons of water. We have a 30-inch round pipe coming up out of the ground underneath this thing, and that's what heats this thing for the most part of the winter. When it's 35 and 40 below, we do have an electric heater. It's this red thing here that will kick in when it's required, so it doesn't freeze up on us. So I just really wanted to show the students the innovation that's come about in the last number of years. Before it was all electric watering bowls, consumed power, and we're trying to reduce our consumption of power and do our part for the environment.
So Arnold, you're using heat from the earth, the geothermal heat, to heat that water?
Pardon me?
We're using heat from the earth.
We're using heat from the earth, and it comes up inside that 30-inch riser pipe.
So even in the coldest days, it gets pretty cold in Saskatchewan, the cows still have defrosted water. It's not frozen.
Liquid water to drink.
Perfect.
Yeah, and this is the float that activates the water. So when the cows drink, it'll start the water. It'll start the water up. So we'll walk over to.
Yep, we're gonna move on now, Susan and Colleen.
Sounds good.
Wonderful. So we did get to see that space where the cows will have their babies and maybe where they'll have a bit of a sleep. Colleen, I have a question for you.
Yes.
What did the mama cow say to the baby cow?
Ooh, I don't know. Moo.
It's past your bedtime. Past your bedtime.
That's a good one. Okay, I think we're going to jump into our first brain break now, students, while Arnold and Emma move on to the next part of the tour. So make sure you have your activity book in front of you so you can write down the correct answer.
Brain break.
They're putting us on a brain break.
Did you know? Beef cows have 4 chambers in their stomachs. This helps them to eat food that humans cannot digest, such as grass and hay. Thanks for learning with us.
I really like that brain break fact. It's interesting that cows have those different chambers and they can move their food back and forth. So sometimes when you see cows chewing during the day, it's called the cud, that they're chewing, that they've brought their food up, and then it goes to a new chamber. So it looks like Arnold and Emma have moved on to another part on the farm.
Arnold just jumped into the tractor to start it up, so he's going to get it going for you guys.
Oh, wonderful.
And it might get quite loud or we won't be able to hear you, so Susan, you may have to take over.
Okay, well, luckily I have talked about this with Arnold already, so I know what's happening here. That red machine that's on the back of the tractor is called the TMR mixer. And TMR stands for Total Mixed Ration, and that's what the cows eat. So Arnold, as a rancher, works with a veterinarian or an animal nutritionist, and they say what should be in the feed. So here you can see there's a mix of straw and hay and silage, which is fermented grasses that are sort of broken down and easier for the cows to digest. And they mix in some vitamins and some different minerals. And there's also something called chop in there, which is ground up barley. And the barley gives the cows lots of extra energy. Then these blades are spinning around sort of like a food processor that you would have in a regular kitchen. And they're cutting up all that grass and that straw and the chop. And they're kind of making it into bite-sized pieces. And then that TMR mixer will get pulled by the tractor, and they will use it to feed or fill the feed troughs where the cows eat.
Okay, very interesting. So Arnold, can you hear us okay? We just learned all about this TMR
So right now,
mixer.
Arnold's son just put a bale in so that they can grind up the ration. Now, do you want to talk, Arnold? There.
I will. So my son is making a ration for the feeder cattle. So we put in, and I don't know because I'm not the guy that does the mixing, but Leonard puts in so many pounds of straw, so many pounds of hay, so many pounds of chop. And that's what this is. This is chop, and what it is, it's ground barley cereal. And so he puts X number of pounds in the mix as well. And then he puts in silage, which is just over here by the pit.
That pile's silage.
Yeah. And so if someone says, well, how do you know how many pounds of everything you're putting in? And look, you take a shot of the scale on the TMR mixer, we know exactly what they're putting in. And so, as I said, we put hay, straw, chop, silage, vitamins and minerals, and we work with a feed nutritionist to formulate these rations so that they're what the animals require to maintain a healthy lifestyle. Cattle are really unique animals, and they're like a furnace. The colder it gets in the wintertime, you just give them more chop, Chop is their energy. The alfalfa hay is their protein, and that's the two things they require. And so if we're every 5 or 10 degrees below a certain temperature, which I think is 20, you increase another pound or two of the chop, so that increases their ability to keep warm. And I know some people are really concerned, and I really want to bring this point up. People are concerned when there's snow on the backs of these cattle, and they think, oh, these cattle are cold, look at all that snow. The fact of the matter is, if there's snow on the cattle's backs, that tells us they're not losing body heat, and that's the optimal. If they're wet after and they've got hard snow on their back and stuff, that's a concern, because that when their hair gets wet, they are losing body heat. So if you see snow on the back of cattle, don't be concerned. There's nothing wrong with them.
Okay,
And
so
right
that's
now my son is putting in silage, and so I don't know how much of this you want to see.
So
we'll
Arnold,
wait
we
for
actually
him
have
to
a
put
question
silage
here
in.
from the chat.
As you see, every time he puts something in the TMR mixer, the numbers on our scale go up because it's just an increase in weight in that ration. And I know I talked when Susan and I were chatting, they were wondering what that red machine over there is. That's called a bale shredder, and we put straw in there that shreds the straw up for bedding for the cattle to sleep on. And so bedding for cattle is basically your mattress, and it's a mattress for cows, and it keeps them warm. They don't have to lay in the cold snow.
Okay.
We'll go to the truck now.
Perfect. And Susan, do you think you could answer this question?
I
You
actually
briefly talked
can
about it.
answer this question. Yeah, so silage is something that farmers or ranchers make to feed their cattle. And what happens is they pack different grasses like alfalfa or other plants that they've cut, and they pack it in underneath a plastic wrap. And it's a heavy plastic wrap that protects it from the weather, it protects it from drying out, but then it starts to ferment underneath there. So it's sort of like making maybe something like pickles. So there's some bacterial action that's happening that starts to break down the straw. So it makes it easier for the cattle to digest it, but it also makes it so that it stays safe for a long time. So it's not going to make the animals sick if it's straw that's lasted for a long time. So farmers can harvest their crops in the summertime or when they're ready to cut. And then that's a way to protect that food so it can last through the whole winter to feed their animals. So they mix the silage and they mix it with hay and straw to make the TMR, or the mixed ration for cattle to eat. And I know that Arnold has commented before that to him, the silage smells like sauerkraut. But because it's fermented, silage has a very distinct smell. And so you'll know if there's silage around because it has sort of a pungent, sort of sour smell to it.
Okay, interesting. Thanks for answering that. Okay, and I think now we're going to jump into our second brain break.
Brain break. Did you know? Beef cattle spend most of their time outside grazing on a pasture. They can tolerate a lot of different weather, which helps them to stay outside for most of the year. Thanks for learning with us.
Okay, so we can see that Arnold's cows are still outside right now, even though it's pretty cold in Saskatchewan. So yeah, beef cattle can handle lots of different temperatures, and they do stay outside for most of the year.
Yeah, beef cattle grow sort of a thick, hairy coat that bulks up when the temperatures get cold. And then in the springtime, when there's more light during the day and the temperatures start to warm up, then they kind of shed some of that out, sort of like our dogs.
So they get thicker coats in the wintertime to keep them warm. And that is our mystery word, everyone. So today we're in Saskatchewan. So you're going to write down the word diverse beside this province in your passport. So you should have about 8 of the words now in your passport. So 8 of the words uncovered in your mystery sentence. Susan, we have a question here that I think we can answer.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
Kelton,
Kelton, I'll tell you, what is the difference between straw and hay? I actually just asked Arnold this question the other day because I wasn't sure either. So straw is the plant material that's left over from harvesting crops. So when we were to harvest a crop, maybe like barley or wheat or oats, we want the seed heads, and we would make either different food products, or we would replant those seeds to grow more crops. Then all the stuff that's left behind, like the stems and the leaves, that part is straw. Whereas hay are different kinds of grasses. Arnold mentioned alfalfa, and there's lots of grass species, and they're harvested for cattle to eat when the plants are younger. So they haven't fully developed, but they would still have maybe a bit of a seed head on them, but not a fully mature seed. So there's lots of protein in those plants, and it's more nutritious, whereas the straw is a little bit more, a little bit energy and sort of some bulk in the food.
Okay, yeah, and commonly, so straw would be used for like the bedding of animals, so that's what they would sleep on, so horses too, and then
That's
hay
right.
is what they would eat.
Yeah, absolutely. And cattle actually are able to eat straw, but it's only because they have those 4-chambered stomachs, like we said earlier.
Right. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I have some Saskatchewan beef facts to share. So did you know that in our province, we have more than 2.5 million cattle? Sometimes when you're talking about numbers of cattle, you say head. So we have 2.5 million head of cattle in the province, which means that that's more than twice as many cows as we have people. And all of those cows live on about 13,000 ranches or beef farms in the province. So I know I shared a cow joke earlier, but I have another one for you guys. I think this one might be my favorite. What do you call it when one cow spies on another? A stakeout.
That's awesome. They're staking out looking for the other cows.
That's
Okay.
right.
Arnold, it looks like we're at our last stop of the tour.
He's just going to open the gate for us.
Cows. Perfect.
Yep, you can talk now.
Okay, so we're at the feeder part of our operation. LB Ranch has 2 yard sites. My son lives at the cow-calf operation, and my wife and I live here at the feeder calf part of the operation. And feeder cattle are basically last spring's calves. You saw the little babies that are being born now. Well, these guys were born last spring at some point in time. And so we're over here, and we'll just walk forward. They're pretty tame for the most part. They're used to Leonard and I being in here walking around. I guess I'm a little surprised they're as calm as they are with Emma being a stranger, but I think the fact that they're with us all the time, it's all right. I just wanted to show you. My son was making the ration for these feeder calves, and I want you to see what it looks like after it's gone through the TMR mixer. It's all chopped up. You can see the straw right there. You can see the green hay. You can see the silage, and you'll see the odd bit of chop in here. So this is a total mixed ration, and they do very well on it. We don't put a lot of grain in the feeder cattle ration because the buyers that buy these calves, we'll sell them before we get into end of April, but they want the frame. So as a cow calf producer, we provide them with a framey calf, and they want to put on the weight themselves because that's where they make money, and then they'll sell them off to a finishing feedlot where they make, hopefully they make a little more money. I know times are a little difficult right now, but that'll all get better as we move into the fall, hopefully.
So that cow looks like he's scratching himself.
The one thing I wanted to mention, springtime in Saskatchewan is kind of a messy time. It's not the most beautiful time of the year. Summertime is great. We have trees, we have grass, we have water, but in the springtime it's melting, and so you can see it's kind of poopy around here and kind of a mess. But that'll all change as we get warmer and the snow disappears and we move on to greener grass, I guess.
You got a friend.
The greener pastures.
They all look so curious.
I'm open to any questions that any of the students or teachers want to ask.
Yeah, we have a couple here that we'll ask. So Jackson would like to know how many calves you have.
Right now, we only have 11 new calves, but we have 250 mama cows that are going to calf, and so we'll, not everyone has a baby for whatever reason. We may end up with 240, 245 calves when we're done our calving season.
Wow, lots of little babies then.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's a question that Shale and Feline would like to know. I think you sort of just answered this, but how many cows and calves do you have? And maybe you could comment on how many feeders you also keep.
Well, for the most part, we ship off the steers in the fall time when we do our fall separation of the cattle from their mamas. We shipped off a load here in January. We shipped out 80 again, and we shipped out 30 here just last week. So we have in this pen here about 110 left, but we're going to keep 35 of them as replacement heifers. And replacement heifers really are females that we're going to keep, these young females, and sell off some older cows that are of age or poor doers, or have bad legs or whatever. So it's a constant cycle is what we do with these cattle, and we really try to pick out the genetics so we have good growthy animals and those that are vigorous doers, and so that's what we do.
Okay. Oh, it looks like we have a cow joke here. So Susan's been sharing some awesome ones with us. So what do you call a cow that won't give milk? A milk dud.
Oh, I like that one.
Okay, and with that, we're going to jump into our job spotlight.
Hi, buddy.
Job Spotlight, powered by Think Ag.
Veterinarians help farmers keep their animals healthy. What do vets do? I suggest ways farmers can feed, house, breed, and handle their animals. I care for sick and injured animals. I perform medical treatments such as surgeries and giving vaccinations.
Okay, so I'm sure we all know that we use veterinarians for our dogs and our cats and our household pets, but farmers also use veterinarians for their animals. So we've come to the last section of the farm tour today. We get to ask Arnold questions from all across Canada.
Okay.
So let's start with the first one. So does your meat come from male, female, or both?
Well, actually, both. There's really no distinction, even in the retail supermarket where our consumers buy our meat products. There's no distinction whether that particular steak or roast has come from a male or female.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Arnold.
Great. So the grade 4-5 students here at Greystone Heights are wondering why some farmers use square bales and some farmers use round bales. Good question.
Well, that's all of a preference. We use round bales for us as a beef operation. I think some dairy operations like the square bales better, but it doesn't matter which way you go. Round bales sheds the water and the elements of nature better than the square ones. The square bales, you have to put them under shelter, or otherwise the rain and the snow melt will get in them and they'll deteriorate.
Okay, so it's all up to preference. So here we have a question from Mackenzie, and she would like to know how you know if a cow is going to have a baby.
Well, that's just years and years of experience. The one thing we do, we record the turnout date when we let the bulls out to pasture, and so we know 9 months from then that we had better start watching for some new babies.
Okay, so cows are pregnant for 9 months, just like humans.
Correct.
That's a great question. Okay, so Jackson is hoping to know how you would know if a cow is sick.
Well, that's really easy, and if you're with your animals every day, and for us anyway, it's either Leonard or I. We're in with these cattle every 3, 4, 5 hours through the day, and if you open, like for instance, now when Leonard fed the cows over there, and you open a gate, and an animal is slow to come out the gate or hesitant to go to the feed trough, then you know that animal is what we consider off, and so she'll go over to the keep and care pen, and we'll keep an eye on her, and maybe she just ate too much the day before. Who knows? But we try to nip the problem sooner rather than later. And sometimes you'll see the odd droopy ear, so you know she's not feeling good. So those are things we look for.
Perfect. So you just spend lots of time with your cows and you get to know their personalities and you can kind of tell when they're not feeling well.
Yeah,
So our next
yeah.
question here is from Landon, and he would like to know how old the cows have to be before they are used as meat. So how long do they grow for?
Well, it takes approximately 16 to 18 months. Depends on the genetics of the animal. Depends on the animal itself, whether it's a Simmental animal or an Angus animal. An Angus animal will finish sooner than, say, for instance, a Simmental or a Charolais. The bigger bodied animals require a little longer time to finish.
Okay, and just so all of our students know, so Arnold was just saying Angus and Charolais. So those are different types of beef cattle. So what type of beef do you have on your farm, Arnold?
We're a Black Angus operation.
Okay.
There are probably 10 or 12 predominant beef
Mhm.
cattle breeds here in Saskatchewan, anything from Red Angus to Black Angus to Simmentals to Charolais to anything in between that. And a lot of times as producers, we like to cross. We will have, say, for instance, Hereford on Angus or Gelby on Angus, and that just gives you a more vigorous offspring.
Okay, so lots of different breeds of cows, just like there's lots of different breeds of cats and dogs.
Wonderful, Arnold. So Autumn would like to know why there are tags on the cow's ears.
Well, that's an identification thing. As I said at the beginning of our tour over there in the calf pen, and those Emma, if you take a shot of one of these, you'll notice that, say, for instance, that one there says 12BJ. So the 12 is the number of that the cow has been designated. B is her birth date, and J is the calf's birth date. So we know how old these animals are. And, when they get into that 11, 12-year-old age group for these mama cows, they become less vigorous. They require more feed. They don't produce as much milk for their babies. And so it's time to go off the market.
Okay,
That's
so the
interesting. So
tag.
identification, yeah, sort of like my dog wears a collar that has his name on it. But then I guess it would be pretty hard to put a collar on all the cows and keep it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when I go to a meeting, I have a name tag on my chest so people know who I am.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So how many pounds is an average cow, Arnold?
Our Black Angus average is 12 to 1,300 pounds. You get
Wow.
into the bigger boned animals, Simmentals and Charolais, you can look at 1,700 pound animals.
Wow, so very, very heavy.
Arnold, how big is the average calf when it's born? Mrs. Connell's grade ones would love to know.
Well, we on average, our calves are about that 85-pound range. When we have, say, for instance, when we have mamas that have their first baby, we try to use sires that'll throw a smaller calf. We're happy if we have a 65-pound calf on a mama cow that's having her first baby. Easier calving process and a greater chance of survival and doing very well.
It sounds like there's a lot of planning and careful thought that happens in ranching.
Yeah, this ranching, it isn't just about the love of the industry. It's also the economics, and we're really in tune with the health and safety and well-being of these animals, the care of them, make sure they're nutritionally fed so that they perform the best. So yes, to answer your question, and a short answer is yes. A lot of planning goes into it, a lot of preparation, and a lot of concern. We practice the animal code of practice, which we want to have shelter for them. So if Emma just shows you a picture of this part of the windbreak fence here, that's to keep the wind away from these animals. So if we have an extremely windy day and the wind can't get to these cattle, they still are decently warm, even if it's 35 or 40 below. If they have proper bedding, such as if Emma takes a shot here of the straw that these calves are laying on, that's what's required, and good food, lots of it. For the most part, you don't have to worry about them.
Okay, I think we have time for 2 more questions here. So this one, they're asking, do your cows ever fight?
Oh yes, and it's really kind of strange if there's a change in weather, and we always say it's an atmospheric barometric pressure change, they will fight. And yesterday was our first 4-degree centigrade day, and everybody wanted to tussle around, including our bullpen.
Yeah, they were excited. It was so warm outside finally.
I was too.
Yeah.
That's right. Wonderful. Okay, so our last question, Arnold. Tegan in grade 4 wants to know if you find your job fun.
Well, yes, it is fun, and it has to be fun, or we wouldn't be in the business. It's a tough business. We're out here when it's 40 below. We're out here when it's 30 degrees, 35 degrees centigrade. We're out here whether it's rain or shine. So yeah, I love my job, and I love the animals, and I love to see these cattle born and develop into a good, wholesome animal that will produce nutritious food for all of you students and all of you teachers.
So nice to hear that you love your job as a rancher, Arnold. Unfortunately, we've come to the end of the Q&A section of the tour. There were so many amazing questions, and teachers, just keep an eye out for your email. Agriculture in the Classroom Canada is going to be sending out a follow-up to these tours, and we're going to answer as many questions as we can.
Oh, wonderful. Arnold, thank you so much for hosting us all on your farm today. It was so wonderful to get our friends all across the country to see what happens on a Saskatchewan ranch.
You can say your thing.
Well, I want to thank all the students and all the teachers that have come forward to watch this video today of our ranch. And I encourage all students and all teachers and all consumers, if you have any questions, any concerns about the raising of cattle here in Saskatchewan, just talk to a farmer. You can recognize a farmer in a grocery store and walk up to them. We're more than happy to answer your questions, and it's a win-win situation for everybody. We understand where consumers are coming from. If you ask us the questions, and we can answer the questions, and consumers know how their food is being raised here on these Saskatchewan farms. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Arnold. And Susan, I want to thank you. Thank you for bringing me to Saskatchewan and joining me on this beef tour. I had so much fun.
Oh, well, thanks for stopping by. We are so happy to have you here today. Thanks,
We'll
everybody.
See you later. Okay, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our 8th stop of the Great Canadian Farm Tour. Next week, we're going to be in New Brunswick. We're going to be visiting another egg farm. So we already saw an egg farm out in British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. We're going to be heading to the east coast and seeing another egg tour. And these 2 farms are very different, so make sure you tune in so you can see the differences between egg farms. As a final reminder to teachers, don't forget about our social media contest that's going on. We want you to win a prize pack for your classroom, and for a chance to do this, all you have to do is upload a photo of your class participating in the Great Canadian Farm Tour. And just make sure that you use the hashtag for the contest, GCFT22 contest. We also hope that you're using your activity books and your passports. And if you missed today's mystery words, it's up on the screen once more. So today's word is diverse. I'll see you next week in New Brunswick on an egg farm.